Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer. I'm a galactic shaman, which means I know about shamanism on planet Earth. That's the original medicine of planet Earth that deals with two things: the elements and spirits. I have also my other psychic abilities honed, and contrary to how the psychic abilities were used when I was not in charge of myself, today, I use it to bring extra information to the table. This is really important right now because we are not doing well. So let's go to the collective mental map, mind map. And what we have is something I've not seen before. The mind streams are extremely short. I have never seen them that short. We have 72,000 mind streams that extend from the center axis. I just sketch a few to show you. For some reason, since I started sketching, the ones that show up are only in your upper energy centers, not the trunk of the body. It's a little bit worrisome. Then you have, I've never seen them even remotely this short. Then you have fire at the end of them. All these mind streams do have 5 extensions. Fear, that's our vibration today. And then we have a spaceship that's not a dotted line, but solid structure at the level or dimension at which we have mind streams, which is not on the physical dimension, but it's not deeper either. This is this would indicate an ability to invade us, whereas other days when I sketched before, we had the three pyramids, triangles of protection, and the spaceships were outside of that. There is no protection here. What happened to us? I think that we all feel, those who are awake and aware, we all feel that something big is going to happen. And I'm going to say that we are scrunching up because of that big thing that we feel is going to happen. And it has us depressed, it has us repressed, and it has us very angry. And it has made us vulnerable to off planet invasion. Now, the other day we looked terrible. I don't know if it was the Trump decision or the Fauci congressional hearing. When we did the shame mantra, everybody trolleyed up to a much better frequency. So we're going to do that again today. The theme of today is, are you going to be able to escape the fall? What fall? Fall of hierarchy, which I talked about yesterday. That includes the United States no longer being as important in the world, which is already happening. But I think the collapses are going to be like really quick. Fall of hierarchy will also apply to medical, with the information that's coming out about in the congressional hearings at the highest level of the land. Certainly after that, it's going to be very difficult for the medical profession and the people that guided us or misguided us to get back on track and be on top. How that's going to play out ultimately, fall of hierarchy. The esteem, etc., that the medical profession and doctors have been held in, gone, gone. People are looking for things to hate. People are looking for people to blame, for situations to blame. And there appears to be plenty of reason to be blaming medicine. But here we go. How do you escape the fall? Modern medicine, according to the studies, which I did not do, and I think are done every year, you compare the 17 most advanced developed nations on the planet, and you compare their medical systems. American medicine is the most costly and the least effective. How did that happen? If you're not effective, why are people paying? And there we go with the whole thing with the paradigm shift. Hierarchy. We were at the top. Obviously, we must know something the others didn't. We didn't know something the others didn't. But the order of the day of hierarchy would have held true that we did know more in terms of medical. No, we didn't. Those of us in alternative already know that. That's going to all collapse. So, how do you escape that situation without getting harmed? Well, I think for a long time, you probably already are paying attention to people that are emphasizing food and that are emphasizing energy. So fascinating when they talk about, my God, if you spend hours a day grounding, what do they call it? Earthing or grounding, you get healthier. Health is a balance of the four elements. Yeah, if you spend more time in nature, you're going to get healthier. And now it's like shock. Oh my God. And it's free. Well, it can't be that good if it's free. Yeah, it is that good and it is free. And how did we ever turn away from that? We gave our power to people that positioned themselves at the top in terms of hierarchy, and we gave away our instincts, our ability to self assess, our ability to think logically. How can they every year they have studies that this American medicine is the worst out of 17 most developed countries, and we continue to be held in high regard? How is that possible? People are not paying attention. They're not trusting themselves. They're not trusting what they're saying. They're waiting for other people to tell them what to do. This is respectable. It doesn't look respectable to me, but it is. Oh, okay, it's respectable. I'll respect it. No longer. So, what do I suggest you do in terms of medicine? What a lot of people are already doing, looking to the alternative. And I strongly suggest a medical system based on what all the other medical systems know, which is that health is a balance of the elements. And that includes the health of your company. It includes the health of your home. It includes the health of your car. In terms of the fall of the United States, in terms of hierarchy, that's a big problem. But if we live more simply, maybe it's not that big a problem at all, unless you live in a large city, at which time you would be dependent on a hierarchical situation that keeps everything in order so that everything is running and you can have the services that you need in a big city. I'm not sure that that's going to be able to continue. How do you escape the fall? Do you have an escape plan? Years ago, I was working with a family that were very well to do from another country. And things got very complicated politically, and at which time the family would have been targets. And I will never forget where I was sitting. I was actually sitting behind a door. I don't remember why I was sitting behind a door. I wasn't hiding from anybody, but I will never forget that. So I said to the person I was working with from the family, it was on a call, they were in another country, and I said, so what you have to do is have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And plan A is everything seems to be okay, everybody kind of continue business. And plan B is if this is announced on TV or on the radio, or if these particular things happen, then everybody should start to collect loved ones and start to go towards the airport. And there should be a plan. Everybody should not show up to the nursing home where your grandmother is or to your mother's home in another neighborhood. So and so, this particular person should be the person to pick up the mother. These two people can pick up the grandmother. This person should pick up the children at school. And then the father should do in other words, everybody should have a role to play and they should know their roles in advance. So they all pick up the people and they get together in their home and then they go to the airport. And then plan C was everybody go directly to the airport, pick up the kid at school, and from there, catch a cab and go to the airport. Don't bother going home to get together with the rest of the family. So you need a plan A, plan B, and plan C. What happens? Everybody, in terms of the news that I see, in terms of X and what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling, something big is going to happen. Okay, well, what's your plan? You can have a plan. I have a lot of food put away and a lot of water. Great. What's your plan other than that? What about your sister that you know she can't take care of herself? Well, we'll figure it out. There may not be any figuring it out because there may not be any internet or any cell phone service. Don't figure it out then when you might not be able to figure it out in terms of communicating. Figure it out now. When I suggested this to my family years ago, they just scoffed at it. And I'm sure they would again today. Okay, you need a plan. And you can share it. And then if they don't pay any attention, maybe give it to them on a sheet of paper. And they could just say, just put it away. Don't worry about it. I see that you're not accepting it. Just put it away. But if something happens, if this happens, then you go to the sheet of paper and it's plan B. Plan B. So you should be ready for the worst. You should do, and then you need to have a mantra. So if things start to collapse, you need to have a mantra. Please, God, help us with our intention that we be gracefully or miraculously protected during the collapse, the chaos, whatever word you find most appropriate. And then try to get other people to join you, but they may not. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it. Yes, if something big happens, you are going to have to listen to the news because you should. You need to know what's going on. You can't stay hooked to it. You cannot continue to take those images in because they're part of your bank of images that you use to create your reality. You need to know what's going on. You can watch that catastrophe or that assassination, whatever, and then you need to swing back to your intention. If you think that what it is that you're doing for a living or what it is that you do or your home or your neighborhood is not going to survive what's going on, that's what you're thinking. And that's what it appears is going to happen. But human beings create their own reality. We can create individually now. The fact that the whole city goes up in flames does not mean that your home is going to go up in flames. There's a car accident, 4 people die, and the 5th one, nothing happens to them. Why? Well, we don't. They didn't have the intention to die. Intention creates reality. There are no exceptions. I am struggling with 2 issues. Why is it that I did not apply this to these 2 issues? I don't know. But let me tell you what you need to know. If you have a problem, it's because you need that problem. You need it. If you don't need the problem, you won't have it. If you have a problem and you take care of the reason why you need that problem, then the problem just goes away. I am doing some new events, some classes where I am disconnecting the implants that we all have that we didn't know we had. The movie Matrix tried to warn us. I understand somebody told me that in another science fiction movie, they also talked about the implants. Okay, so I spent yesterday, I don't know how many hours, cutting implants from dozens of people. You have an implant because you have a break, a portal in your system that is from a problem that you had that you haven't finished resolving. So the implant is a symptom of a problem that you have. Let's make it easier. This even applies to black magic. I've shown you many times how, well, the last map of the United States. Hold on. I've got it right here. The map I did 2 days ago. This is black magic. The United States. Oh my goodness. Yes, I agree. My goodness. But why? Why do we have huge black magic in the country? Well, because we're broken. So that's to break us further. Actually, no. That is a red flag saying United States broken, the United States is broken, the United States is broken, because if you weren't broken, this country, they wouldn't have been able to do the black magic. And that is why you have a space that sitting right on top of us with no protection, because we're broken because of our fear. So any problem that you have, and it doesn't matter what the problem is. And today was when I realized that yet again with these two particular issues that I have, which I'm not going to discuss now, but I will another day when it would be appropriate. It's not appropriate now because I'm still in the middle of the mess. I mean, to do all the political stuff. But why would I need these two particular problems? Because the intention of the black magic that's getting done to me, certain black magic that's getting done, because a lot of getting it is done to me to keep me down, matches my intentions. Well, how's that possible? We have subconscious intentions. Maybe we're not proud of ourselves anymore. Maybe we don't know how to get out of the mess in this country. Maybe we just want it to all disappear and start fresh. Because honestly, the problems that we're having are shameful and we don't know how to get out of them. Just the collapse of medicine alone. So this is kind of like a signpost, a flag saying, you're broken, United States. Yes, we're broken. And maybe we just want everything to just all go away. And the black magic will help for it to go down quicker. Matching our intentions, just get it over with. All those people that have been saying in not alternative media, but real media, not controlled, it's going to all collapse, it's all going to fall. Maybe they just want to get it over with. Just let it happen. Let it happen. Let it happen. Get it over with. Get it over with, because this is not fixable. But you don't have to do that. You can have an intention. Many years ago, there was a hurricane coming through Miami. And I had always asked, I don't want to be left without electricity. I can't stand it. I need hot water to shower. I cannot. I shower 2 times a day. I cannot go to bed without a hot shower. That's it. I can't. So I said, I want my electric not to go off. Okay, so I'm at home. My cat comes in. My cat never came in. And the hurricane comes by, and I'm left without electricity along with everybody else. So I will never forget, I was sitting in my restroom on the toilet, and I remember I was angry. And I said, I don't ask for a lot. I said, I don't want to be without electricity. I was telling God or whoever. And then I heard, and how would you feel if you had electricity when everybody else doesn't? And I remember thinking, I would be embarrassed. I'd be ashamed if I have electricity and nobody else does. Within 30 seconds, the electricity in my home turned on. I was like, oh, wow, wait a second. A couple hours later, my son-in-law came to deliver something because after all, I was by myself, no electricity. He comes to deliver, I don't remember what, after the hurricane. And he said, this is really weird. I said, what? He said, the whole neighborhood is dark except for your house and the rest of the houses from here to the end of the block. How'd that happen? I did not really intend on having electricity if everybody else wasn't going to have electricity. So I didn't. And then as soon as I accepted, okay, that's true, I got electricity. You create your own reality, but the reasons why we create terrible realities are sometimes so weird and so like, why would I do that? I understood, because in that moment I felt the shame. I would be ashamed. I'm the only one with electricity. Everybody else is suffering. Remember that. Hurricane. Everybody else is without electricity, and I got mine back. Not only that, but It wasn't the same hurricane, it was another hurricane. And I said, I don't want to go through any messes. Okay, I had a huge, I lived in a property that was like a park. Huge trees, huge plants. So a hurricane after that is like a mess. So I said, listen to me, powers that be, God, whatever. I don't want to mess. Okay. I did not sleep at my home because it was a big hurricane and my family didn't want me to be by myself and I didn't want to either. So I slept at my daughter's. And then whenever I was able to, I trolleyed my way back to my house. It was not easy because all the streets had big trees that had fallen over. Coconut Grove. Everything is trees. And many of them that were decades old had fallen over. I get to my house. And yes, there were branches that had fallen. And there were some guys and men there, and I said, okay, can you clean this up and tell me how much it is, whatever. And within an hour, they had finished. And I paid them and they left, and everybody, both sides of me said, wait a second. How come your yard didn't have so much damage? How did you do that? I mean, I'm telling you, in 1 hour, they picked up everything. I had asked for it before. And I myself was like, whoa, that's a lot of power. Now, my back fence leaned over. That was the only thing that happened of significance. And it wasn't that significant. They just pushed it back up again, and that was finished. Why? The back of the property corresponds to crown chakra, which corresponds to faith. And yes, I limp in faith because of my personal history. So that made sense. In several other hurricanes, when people had damage, my friends had damage to their homes, I would check what part of their home got damaged or their yard, because there's a map called the Bagua, 3,000 years old. I didn't invent it. And it tells you what part of your home and your property corresponds to what certain flow of energy in your life. And there was a direct relationship between what part of the home or property got damaged by the hurricanes and the issues in that particular person's life. Such as a friend of mine, not sure how many times she's been married, but that's a part of her home that always gets hurt. A tree branch falls on it, the roof leaks, whatever. Because she limps in that department. I limp in terms of faith. So it was the only thing that got damaged. Can you remember these stories now? So that starting right now, you can start to mentally set your intentions so that it doesn't matter what happens. Because maybe something's going to happen that none of us even know can possibly happen. So how do you word the mantra? You have to make it generic enough to cover that too, whatever that might be. We human beings create reality with their mind, and they create it with the strings. Now, let me remind you about those strings. There is something called iron shirt training. I don't know why this is open, but let's get it out of here. And there's supposed to be a chat here. Iron shirt training. It's a martial arts. And you know the story. I took a part, or you may not. I took a private class because I had had that training when I was actually a teenager, a child. Part of my interesting history. But I didn't remember any of it. And I just wanted to get a feel of it. So I'm with the martial artists. We're kind of circling each other. Why are we circling each other? I don't know. And he said, why are you doing that? Doing what? The way you're walking in a circle. I said, I have no idea. Apparently I was remembering something. So then I looked at him and I said, what's that on your chest? He said, what do you mean? I said, you got this stuff on your chest. He went, oh, that's iron shirt training. I said, what's iron shirt training? He said, it's a martial arts training. It's very esoteric and secret, and practically nobody does it because it's really long. It takes years, and I didn't finish it. But you train to where the part of the body you train in becomes impenetrable by a knife. In other words, his chest, if somebody tried to knife him, the knife would not penetrate. And I went, wow, because you know what his chest was? The strings had braided themselves in his chest. That's what I was seeing. Mind strings braided themselves because of his intention that was supported by a particular training, body movement. I don't know what the specifics were, but it was his intention to have a chest that a knife could not penetrate. Well, hey, if you can do that, you can do that to your house. I did it with my yard, and I didn't even believe in this very much this many years ago. You can do this. Everything can fall and you can escape it. One way or another, you don't even need to know how. If you're a perfectionist, like on earth science, where you want to have everything, well, how do I? No, you need to leave the intention wide enough to where that if it's something outside of your belief system or outside of your knowledge that could take care of the situation, that you don't stop it simply because you don't know. So you make it loose enough. You don't require that not a single tree fall in my yard, or that I don't know, you don't make it so specific that you're only going to get that, where you could have had something much bigger, but you tried to control it. You tried to cover it all. Don't do that with your intentions. No, I want this, so let me intend on this. Maybe you can get something a lot better than that if you reword the intention mantra to something to where God could give you something even better than that. Intention creates reality. If you ever needed to know that and remember that, I think it might be today. Because if catastrophes start to happen, at that point, it's very hard to get other people to listen, and it's very hard to get your head wrapped around the wording of the mantra or taking the time to say it. You need to plan, and you should plan the creation of your reality. What happens if the banks close? I don't actually know how we're going to be able to function if they close and if the internet and we can't use the credit card. But you don't actually need to know how to get around that. What you have to have is a mantra of, please God, help me with my intention to function, to miraculously function well in spite of an economic collapse. That's wide enough. Well, but with the specifics, you don't need to know the specifics. You just need to set the requirement of what you intend. So I'm gonna make this session, and we're gonna do mantras at the end, but I'm gonna make this about creating reality in terms of catastrophes. Another hurricane, which are the catastrophes or potential catastrophes we get in Florida. So there was going to be a hurricane. Everybody was preparing, and I went to a place that I consult with. They consult with me on whatever. And I decided to do a study on intention having to do with damage from the hurricane. So I went to several people and I had them do the mantra of their home not being damaged by the hurricane. I had them stand to the side of me and I sketched them, because when you have an intention, you get that vector that juts out in the front. But in the back of you, you get these bubbles of the stuff that's in your subconscious. It was fascinating because I think it was 6 people. 2 of the people were doing the intention mantra, and they were struggling with it and whatever. Both of them, what came up from their subconscious, which shows up as bubbles in the back of their body, both of them had relatives. One of them in particular, she had a relative in her country that had died due to a hurricane. So she's doing her mantra, having to do with everybody, her home being protected from the hurricane. And that memory pops up. She didn't remember it. I was the one who said to her, "Did you have a relative that died during a hurricane or as a consequence of a hurricane?" And she went like this, and she went, "Well, yeah, but that was in my country, not here. But it doesn't really matter. It was a relative." That is what was blocking her ability to create the reality of her and her family not being harmed by the hurricane, was the fact that she had a deep-rooted injury in her mind strings that one of her relatives had died. She had to purify that and then continue with the intention mantra. And it was fascinating because she had struggled to do the intention mantra because of that memory. And the second person, my God, the second person could barely say the words of the mantra, "Please God, help me with my intention that my family be miraculously protected." We didn't have the word miraculously in those years because I wasn't aware that we can ask for miracles really easily now. She could barely say the words. They wouldn't flow. So when I was looking at her, I said, "You had relatives that died in hurricanes, but a lot of them, what?" She had relatives. It had been decades before, but it's part of family history. A hurricane came through their town. Everybody ended up on the roof of the house. One of her family, part of her family, the whole family ended up on the roof of the house. And there were several kids and the mother and the father. Everybody got swept away except for the father and one son. And the father, I think, committed suicide shortly after that. But it was a hurricane. She could not create the reality of her family today being safe from a hurricane because of that memory. That memory had to be dealt with. She had to have a purification of that memory. And then after several minutes, I left her there for several minutes, she was able to do the mantra about her family being miraculous, being protected from this hurricane. So your personal history is also part of what's going to determine what's going to happen to you. But even if you have a bad personal history in relation to catastrophes or governmental downfalls or political unrest or assassination, whatever, you should deprogram that. And then on top of that, put the intention of, it's not going to happen to my family, to my house, to my business, to whatever. Your personal history will have a lot to do with how much you can actually energize something. The woman whose family had ended up on top of a roof and they all died except for the father and the son, and then he committed suicide after that. They died during the hurricane. She would have a very hard time creating with her mind that held that memory, creating a positive reality in terms of a hurricane. What do you have in your history? If you are a political refugee and you're in this country, you need to deprogram what you went through, in addition to doing the intention mantra that the politics does not destroy the country, whatever. I know somebody that works too hard. So the hurricanes come, she gets left without electric, and she's still smiling because she works too hard. And when a hurricane comes, she does not have to go to work. She's not going to do a mantra. Yeah, she does a mantra that everything in her home be fine. She not lose electricity. No, 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 no. There's another part of her that's like relieved that she doesn't have to go to work, that she's going to have 2 or 3 days off with her family, with her kids, whatever. Well, then you need to formulate a mantra that gracefully you are able to stay home, but that your home does not get touched. In other words, you have to be thoughtful about the particular mantra and take into consideration your own personal history. Many years ago, when I separated from my husband, I remember I went to an astrologer for, just for general once a year reading. And I asked her why it was that I had not been able to find a partner. I wanted to have a man in my life to be able to go places, whatever. Um, and she looked at a chart and she said, "But you don't really want someone." And I said, "Please, of course I do. Of course I do." She said, "No, you don't. You want somebody to go out with or whatever, but you don't really want to be paired off with a man." And I said, "Listen, I think you're wrong." She said, "Okay." It probably took me a couple of weeks to realize she was right. I'm a victim of sexual abuse. I'm a mind control victim. I have a handler. Come on, give me a break. You don't think that inside of me there's not this, oh my God. Did I know it? No. So I could have done all the mantras I wanted, but there was a part of me that's a lot more powerful that didn't want. You need to find those parts of you now. You're sick and tired of your company? Well, maybe your company will be one of the first ones to fall down. Oh my God, it was the economic collapse. I lost the company. But you didn't want the company. Well, but I didn't want it this way. Correct. You don't want to be there. This is not a problem. This is okay. Intelligent people cannot do the same thing forever. It's okay. So do a mantra that takes that into consideration. When I left my business that I had had for 30 years and I loved it, I used to remember Sunday nights. I was like waiting for the next day because I'd start and with the new week and blah, blah, blah. And I remember my husband would go into a deep depression on Sunday night because he had to go to work on Monday. Totally different, he and I. But after 30 years, I was tired. And I wasn't aware that I was taking the company bankrupt because I couldn't consciously get myself out of there. No, what am I, crazy? I mean, look, I make a great income. I have a great business. Why would I want to go anyplace? Well, I hate it, but I didn't know that I hated it. So anyway, I had a dream. It was actually a visualization in which Merlin came and said, "We're going to do you a favor. We're going to take you bankrupt so that you don't have to come to work anymore." And I was like, wait a second. And I realized that I was taking my company bankrupt because I didn't want to be there. And then I went, wait, no. I do not want to be embarrassed, humiliated, lose all of this. I have people who depend on me. This is not what I want. Okay, well, so what do you want? I don't want to be here. So I did a mantra to be aligned with my prosperous mission. And I was able to retire with the same income. I didn't take a drop in income. Gracefully. If I had not gotten that vision from Merlin that the spirit world was going to help me get my intention to get the heck out of there, I would have lost the business. So, how many people are going to lose everything they have now if there's an economic shutdown, whatever, but they didn't want it anyway? You got to find that in yourself. Okay, you don't want it, fine. Then you need to do a mantra to align with the next thing you're going to do and for everything to be super cool while that alignment is happening. Please God help me with my intention to miraculously align with my prosperous mission. And as soon as you do that, you just kind of like relax because you know you're going to align with it. So right now, let's go ahead and do things kind of correctly because I know that I'm going to get out of here. It kind of gives you faith. You need to do that now with everything. You need to do this with your bank accounts, with your companies, with your kids, with your house, with everything. You need to be very, very clear. The best example of all, and let me check how many, I've talked for a long time, but this is important. This is really important. So many times through the years, it's so interesting because nobody asks me this anymore. Nobody's interested in sex anymore. Nobody is crazed that their husband or wife is sleeping with somebody else. They don't ask those questions anymore because they're not interested in sex anymore. It's frightening. I used to hate it when I would get a client and no, my husband, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, please. It was my least favorite thing because it's such a mess. Nobody asks anymore. But anyway, in the years in which there was all this complaining, I would get so many women. No, my husband, there's another woman and he wants to leave or he left or whatever. And okay, so what can you tell me about this? And I'll look, but you really We've not been happy with your husband for a long time. No, that's true. We've been fighting a lot. Okay. You actually, I've heard you. You actually don't even like your husband. You don't really want to be with him. Well, that's really true, but that's not really true. I don't want him to go off. I mean, I did not. They didn't intend. They didn't intend on the guy going with another female who did want him. They didn't consciously intend, but subconsciously, they threw the door open and took their suitcases and threw them out in the front lawn. Get the heck out of here. Subconsciously. Subconscious intention. I can't stand him. That's the way too much reality is created. Subconsciously, without you being aware that you did it. You did it. Take responsibility and now plan. And put the important things on a list and then have a mantra. Try not to have a gazillion mantras. Try to get things like in groupings so that you don't have a gazillion mantras. And if you have huge trauma with certain things that could reproduce now, if there is a collapse, do the purification mantra for that big trauma. If you had to leave your country because of political unrest and they were threatening to kill you or your family or whatever, you need to deprogram that. Okay? Because a lot of what's happening, the basis is going to be political. You need to deprogram that. That statement, why is this always happening to me? It's because you have a trauma. A deep rooted injury on your mind is called a vasana, and it creates karma, repetition, repetition. It happens again. You need to deprogram with the purification mantra and then your intention mantra what you want. And you need to make it wide enough so that God could give you more than what you would have thought to ask for. You need to plan. You plan on the physical. You need to plan having to do with creation. And you need to plan now. Even if you don't really believe it, go ahead and do it anyway. And write it down because that will help anchor it. And put it in little post notes. Do they even make post notes anymore? I think they do. Put in post notes, put it on your phone, wherever, or every place. Okay? Big stuff is coming down the pike. Not for nothing. The Mayans talked about it 5,000 years ago. The Bible talked about it 2,000 years ago. The dolphin talked about it. These short mind streams are not going to help you at all. Iron shirt training with these short mind streams, you have zero protection. Let me show you the way it's supposed to look. Oh dear, they changed some stuff here. Don't be changing things on me. I'm not that flexible. Here we go. This is a canopy of mind streams. See the little fingers at the end? Those channel the elements. That's why the elements are so important, because they vitalize the mind streams, which are what create your reality. So when you have them super short, you don't have a lot of protection. So just breathe and extend them. You need to do the fear mantra. So one more story. I've said this story several times, but it's so important, and sometimes I forget the sequence. I'm in the Bahamas, and I'm on a trip, a dolphin trip that I set up. And we went out one afternoon on a boat, and there was a ball of fish, a fish bowl, which is where thousands of fish swim, and they end up creating a ball because they're trying to protect themselves from big predators. Okay. And until several years ago, there were no photographs of them, and to see one was like, oh my God, I saw a fish ball, whatever. So we're on our little boat, and there's one over there. And so the captain says, okay, whoever wants, get into the little rowboat. It wasn't a rowboat, whatever it was, and we're going to go get closer. So we got into this little boat. We get over there, and it was unbelievable. So a couple of people wanted to dive into the fishbowl, and my master said, "Don't do that." Well, I would have never done it anyway. So they dove in, they swam, whatever. They got back, and at some point, the captain says, I just saw a tiger shark. Okay. So we get back on the boat. The next day, he leaves us on the beach of a little teeny weeny island, and he parked his boat. He said, I'm going to park the boat at the other side of the island. You just swim. It's like a block away. So just get in the water, swim over there, and I'll be waiting for you guys. So when it's time to go back, my master said to me, the tiger shark is near. And I was like, okay, well, how are we going to get out of it? Just get in the water, but go straight to the boat. Okay. So I get the partner. You have to partner up with somebody. So I get the partner, and I stood in front of her and I took her by the shoulders. I said, listen to me. We are going straight to the boat. No looking at the fishies. We are going straight to the boat. And she looked at me like that and went, okay. So we get into the water. We're swimming towards the boat. It's not very deep. And all of a sudden, my master said, do you see what you're doing? I look, and on outside, I pushed her so she was near the shore and I was here so that she would be more protected. Okay, I'm Cancer, we do that. And here there was a grid. And my master said, that grid is protecting you. But see what your fear is doing to it. A part of the grid was just like collapsing. My master said, your fear is destroying your protection. And I was like, whoa. And then there had been some problems on the boat between the captain and the cook. And the cook, when I looked in that grid that I was collapsing, she was outside of the grid. And my master said, we can't protect her. And I knew she was totally emotional. She was in a rage. She was in the water swimming towards the boat also, but totally out of sorts. So when I saw that grid almost melting because of my fear, I realized there's nothing I can do anyway. So I just dropped it and just kept swimming. We got to the boat. We get up there and I'm like, and then somebody who got up on the boat before us said, I could feel that tiger shark close to us. Did anybody see it or feel it? Nobody said anything. I didn't say a word. We get into town, we dock, and the captain pulls a bicycle out of who knows where from the boat. And we said, where are you going? And he said, I have to go to the Shark Institute. Why? He said, because I've never seen a tiger shark on the north bank of Bimini. So that tiger shark was out for something in particular having to do with our group because it was the day before and it was that day. But the important part of the story is obviously that my fear, your fear, destroys a natural protection that God gives us, which is a grid that will block anything from coming in, just like the grid that the martial artist created when he braided his mind streams. So dealing with your fear is critical. You have to forget confronting your fear. You have to deprogram your fear so that outside help, God, universe, whatever, can be there for you. And it will be there for you. But your fear can destroy it, such as what I did in the water. Okay, we need to get your mind streams better. We need to get those 3 triangles protecting you. So let's go ahead and do, let's just do the fear mantra. Because honestly, that's where you're all at. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, I don't know if it's spelled correctly because I cannot see. Okay. Please God help me with my intention to miraculously purify my fear. Purify, yeah, I think it's spelled correctly. Let me go ahead and go ahead and start the mantra. It's repeated in silence. And take your breath to in between your legs, which is where the root chakra is, which is the chakra the most associated with fear. And if you want to do another mental yoga, do this with the sphincter of your anus. The muscles of your anus, just flex them. And you will find that your breathing changes. And right now, I just sat more fully into my chair, which is good. So let's go ahead. Go ahead and start. And we'll do this one, which I love. okay, I don't actually know how to get out of this configuration. I was able to turn it off. I don't know how to get it off screen, but I'm not going to worry about that. You look better. Okay, this is what you look like when you got here. I've never seen mind streams that short. As I said, that spaceship is right on top of you, me, us, full of fear. And now you do have the 3 triangles. The eyes are open. Its third eye is not. And the mind streams are longer. So tremendous change between this and this. And we didn't do that much. I should probably sketch after I finish talking and then after you do the mantras to see how much it is. A lot of people tell me that when they talk to me or when they spend time with me, they feel like they have more hope. They feel that all is not lost, that there's a chance that things can get better, that they can make it for whatever reason. I'm not that optimistic a person, but they feel that. So I need to sketch to see what is actually from what I just said in the chat and what it is that is the mantra and the music, which I'm sure is most of it, but we need to find out. We need to know. It's not a question of me feeling good about me. It's a question of doing what they call the science, the observation. And it doesn't matter what the result is. That's what the result is, which is why these sketches are so impressive, because it's consistent that when you come here and you do the mantra, you improve dramatically and you get the protection. What does that protection mean? I don't know. I don't know what it means. But you definitely don't want to look like that, because look at the spaceship. The spaceship's not even there. The whole thing about creating reality and what reality is and how to create it and is really fascinating. Just we would prefer to learn about it under different conditions, not in the state of emergency that I believe that we're in today. So I am putting here on screen the link. We have 2 events tomorrow. Don't even remember what they are. But basically, we're spending a lot of time cutting the implants that are like hoses that are implanted into us. And all this sewage comes into us that affects our ability to be us. And it affects our ability to vitalize our intentions, because we're so busy fighting this other energy inside of us that we never knew was not us, that it was an imposition. So we will be back here tomorrow, and you have to have a plan. Even if nobody listens to you, even if nobody cooperates, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that you have the plan means that there's much higher chance of your intentions being anchored and it happening. In the business world, they have business plans. Most of the big companies require that the employees have a business plan, write it down. They have to write it down. They have to have regular meetings with their bosses, and they go over that sales plan, that business plan. Statistically, the difference between those that have a plan and those that don't have a business plan, the business plan makes all the difference in the world. I don't know if it's 80% higher, the people that have a business plan, than those that don't. So have a plan. What's your plan? In the emergencies that we may be facing, what's your plan? What's your intention? And don't have a plan that's too connected to reality. What is it you want? Because you are going to create it, and you want to create it actively and consciously rather than allowing your subconscious unresolved issues to create it. That's one reason why you must be in platforms and social media where you get a lot of positive. I get most of my stuff on X, but I'm signed up for practically every, what do you call them, channels that have to do with animals, pets. So I spend probably 45% of the time that I'm on X, and I spend too much time on it, smiling and going, oh my God, that's so cute. And then I go, oh my God, look what's going on. But I'm balancing it off. So make sure that what you feed your mind, the images and the conversations, does not overwhelm your positive intentions, because all you took in was negative. The issue of images is going to be in the future, they're going to look back at this time and say, humans did not understand the power of images in relation to their creations. Marketing people know the power of images. They can sway you any which way, they can swing you around with images, but you don't do the same for yourself. Or you think that those negative images from all those murder shows, etc., and even those video games, you think they're not going to really affect you. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye. The link is not working. Give me a second. Let me put it again. There we go. You know, before we leave, I'm going to read you a testimonial from the implant removal event we had yesterday, in which you pay $10 or $20 depending upon the chakra. And I asked for testimonials because I want to know, how effective is this, particularly if you want to remove something from your child or your mate and they're not going to participate. So we had a woman who did it for her daughter. She went to the event online and she did the mantra, and she told God that this mantra and this purification, which I was doing the cutting of the implants, was for her daughter. So this is the testimonial she sent this morning, which I was very, very happy with, because she answered the question, does the person have to actually be there? No. The mantra has to be done with the intention that it be for that person. So this is what she said. Her exact words, except I'm translating from Spanish. Yesterday, I participated in the session to purify the solar plexus for my daughter, who's 23 years old. During the event, I saw Frances next to my daughter, who at that time was sitting in her office because it was working hours. Frances removed many feet of a cord or a hose from inside her solar plexus. And then I cut it. And several times after that, I returned to check on the daughter. We're talking astrally. The daughter's sitting physically in her office, wherever. The mother is sitting on her computer online doing her mantra while I'm doing the checking. So, and she continues, yesterday my daughter was feeling not so great, like 4 out of 10, 10 being great, and she felt like 4. And after the session, when I spoke to her, she told me that she felt at least 30% better, like 7 out of 10. So the daughter was not even there. Her mother's intention, together with my intention, was able to give her a massive healing. You really need to find out the power of intention and what is white magic. Black magic is really effective. White magic is really effective also. Thank you.